Fighting for the future of trucking. Some do it better than others. The news media tries to put us in a box. Well, today I'm going to open that box and talk about what's inside. What motivates people is fear. For some of us, it's the money. And yet there are others that say control. Well, also today, I'm going to share with you what motivates me here on the show. So let's begin a new show and take care of your calls on a show that's fighting for you. Howdy ho, good day. Your search for greatness ends here. So begins another day of broadcast excellence here in the Truckin City Mobile Studios, located somewhere in the Grand Prairie of Utah. Founded by a leader in charge of the fastest movement on social media, with a skill granted by God Himself to restore your faith in broadcast talent. From behind the golden truth in broadcast microphone, running an experience-filled open mic show of epic proportions. We are here making it happen and having control difficulties as usual. We are fighting here on the front lines for you. I'm Boss Man, the CIC of the recently formed United States of Truckin'. Welcome to the Frontlines, a show all others cannot ever be. Built for truckers, by truckers. You heard it. We are doing things for you guys because nobody else wants to. Viewer contributions are the backbone of this trucking show and the format. Whether it's through live phone calls or chats with me in the comments, either way, we depend on you. Call our studio, 860-785-3547, 860-785-3547. During the show, if you would like to be part of the growing trend to help make trucking great again. There is a StreamYard link down below. Feel free to click it if you'd like. Just be ready to be on camera and be ready to start some crap. We have a panelist guest list already joining us with over 100 years worth of experience. We together are destined for excellence. We mean business up here. We've put together a show that nobody else can copy. If you have any ideas for story links or ideas, thoughts on the show, or just want to chat with me in general, send your emails to bossman@truckinnews@outlook.com. That's truckinnews@outlook.com. We look forward to talking with you. Get ready to dial in. Our studio lines are active. Our targeting systems are charged. We are locked and loaded and ready for the front lines. Let the shooting begin.
Shall we begin?
From the trenches of trucking experience and the passionate heavyweight
in the Truth in Broadcasting Network. Welcome to Truckin City News FrontLine Podcast, hosted by the most opinionated broadcaster on YouTube, Boss Man. Heidi ho and welcome. Today I've got a rather different show lined up. Still stories, still talking smack. We're doing our best to make trucking great again. But I thought I'd pepper in a little bit of get to know me conversation. I'm famous for that every once in a while, but you know what? It's going to make sense. Trust me, in the long run, it's going to make sense. First thing I'm going to do is bring up the guests because they are all patiently waiting and eager to join us here on the Frontlines. We are bringing them up one at a time here. I really need to get another USB port so I can add on a mouse because this touchpad is really driving me nuts. Good day, my friends. Welcome to the show. One and all, we have a excited cast. Everybody's just jumping for joy. It just looks like you all are just, do y'all want more coffee? Do you want me to send you, I know what you need. I know what you need. You guys need Marvel superpowers. That's what it is. Marvel superpowers. Yep. Larry, if you were to have your choice of one superpower that would help you get the job done and support you in your job, what would it be?
Disappear.
I didn't hear that.
Disappear.
Disappear. That's an interesting answer. Thumper and Bo. I'll bet you got a weird answer for that one. What would your superpower be?
Oh, I would say speed.
Speed. All right, I like that one. What about you, Grumpy? What's your superpower?
I'd turn real orange and get really, really angry.
Orange and angry. That's good. Okay, what do you Canadians consider a great superpower?
Mind control over dispatchers.
Mind control. I like that one. How about you, Midlife? If you had your choice for one superpower, what would it be?
Can't hear him.
I think there's
He's muted.
I
want to be able to read people's thoughts, especially women.
Oh. Wrong show. We'll quickly digress from that one. That was a good answer, though. I like that. I'll tell you, it's a good thing my wife's not on this show. You'd be under fire right now. Anyway,
there was a television movie one time where guy fell in the tub and he was able to hear what women thought.
That was a Mel Gibson movie.
Yeah.
Well, no.
one thing's for sure, you guys get around. If you got time on your hands to watch a Mel Gibson flick, you're not doing enough driving.
I think I might be driving quite a bit.
I know, I'm just picking on you guys, though. I digress. I'm going to move on to our first story. Usually I take advantage of the start of the show and I go around to an inspiration story. Today I'm going to do that, but in a different direction. This one more or less relates to me because I want to convey to you and the audience, as well as those, and as soon as I go through this, I might get the comment and we'll start taking phone calls if they come in. I want to give you guys an idea of what inspires me, what motivates me. All right. So let me take a moment and recognize, first of all, those of you who have returned for each and every one of my shows. Okay. In the panel and in the audience, I want to recognize that you guys are committed to the same cause, making trucking great again, making every show count, making everybody else's life a lot easier. I also want to take the time to now sound off myself on an important point. A short time ago, I teased that I would opine on who I model. And I thought I would also take that opportunity to kind of give you a little bit of background. Most of you may know him, most of you may not. I don't know because I don't know you guys. But I model my show after a man who is known in broadcast as a pioneer. In fact, a legend. And if we're being honest here, he revolutionized not just radio, but how we have conversations about everything we do in news and in political agendas. He didn't just start out as a media titan that we all grew to eventually know. No, he was a guy who loved radio from the beginning. He bounced around stations, did his time. He even got fired a couple of times. And this may be a dead giveaway, but he hails from Cape Girardeau, Missouri. But what did he do? He didn't quit. After he got fired, he moved around. He got his start in Sacramento, California, but eventually wound up in New York. He fought his way back. His voice cut through the noise because he said what he needed to say, and he said what needed to be said. And people across the country and the world, in fact, felt that. The man knew how to talk to people in a way that made you feel like you were part of something bigger. He gave us permission to think for ourselves. And that, my friends, is why I can confidently say I broadcast today the way I do because of him. Now, I'll be the first to admit it. There's no becoming better than him, okay? I'll probably never even come close, okay? But he's a role model. He's what inspires me, and he's a guiding light for what it means to stand tall and be unapologetically you and yourself and deliver truth to people who need to hear it. I constantly come up here and give you guys this show and videos and this channel and this platform because of what I saw him do. He's the blueprint. I feel honored to broadcast here and honored to talk to you. So when I step behind this microphone and I think of everything that goes on today in the internet, social media, in trucking, in news, all the misinformation, all the premies behind my show, I think of one person. And that person is none other than Rush Limbaugh. He started as a regular talk show host on an AM radio station out of Sacramento, California. KFBK, in fact. He succeeded Morton Downey Jr., for those that don't need to know. But eventually, after many years in the business, he became the legend we all know of. He continued to inspire me and probably many others, but I just thought it would be an interesting walk down what it is that goes through my mind that helps me come up with the material that I do every week. And of course, maybe now the open of the show kind of makes some sense to y'all, I hope. Again, I touch his flair for the dramatic when it comes to openings, but I know I've left a lot of things out, but still, at the end of the day, I want to talk about the stories and I want feedback from you in the audience. So speaking of feedback, Thumper, what's your thought? I mean, do you see any similarities in what's going on, or do you?
Yeah, I do. You start your show out, real serious, and then you crack a joke in there, and then you get right back to real serious. That attention getter, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
And I
Someone
do
who
like
used
that.
to be on the panel. Someone who used to be on the panel said, "You're too serious. You need to lighten up." Thank you.
Well, you gotta be serious, but at the same time, you gotta crack a joke in there. It's what they call an attention getter. You
Oh,
get straight,
yeah.
you get straight to the point, and that's why I like joining the show.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you. So on the side note, who inspires you?
It would be my grandpa and my dad. We come
Amen to
from we come from a really a line of hardworking men.
Mhm.
My dad former Marine. My grandfather is a former Air Force or Army. I'm former Air Force, so we kind of did the whole military, and then after our military career, back in 1982, my grandfather started a construction business, and my dad's taking it over now, and they all work real hard, and that's kind of where I get my work ethic from, and I look up to them. So
That's good. Great place to start from. Who inspires you, midlife? You had a choice. Anybody in particular? Any famous person or family member?
Well, my father was a workaholic. I think I kind of took after him a little bit. He could make Clark W. Griswold look like an amateur when it came to planning a vacation. But
Wow.
I kind of went my own way, and I've done my own thing, and I just look into it and try to figure out the best way to be as successful as possible using math, using management skills.
There you go. Yeah. So Grumpy, who inspires you, my friend? You got to have an inspiration.
I have two, actually. I had both great uncles that were truckers, and they told me a lot of stories, and one of my great uncles had a dump truck. It was a Mack that I actually would get in stuff and act like I was driving a few times. Of course, I never got to ride in it, but he'd let me get up in it and act like I was driving it. So that was a big inspiration to me. So just here I am.
Right? There you go. So what about you, Larry? Who inspires you?
You all do.
Oh, yeah. Famous answer. You can do better than that, my friend. You can do better than that. Somebody in your family, somebody public, nobody? Come on now. You can't be that empty. You're Larry the trucker. You've got it.
My mother did. But
yeah. Well, there you go.
She drove a truck
for
about 6 years.
Really? That's interesting. That is an interesting fact. I like to hear that. There you go. What about you, Poet? Who inspires you? You had many inspirations over the years.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
I was actually the guy that taught me how to drive. He stood 4'8", weighed all of 120 pounds. And I met him when I was 17. I haven't seen or talked to him for 35 years. He's probably passed on by now. But yeah, he's still an inspiration.
Wow. That's been a while. Yeah. It's nice to know that inspirations have a way of ingraining themselves in your memory. They're just, you pick up on a lot of things from somebody that does inspire you. And a lot of times you don't even realize it, So, I mean, it's funny how that works, it really is. So let me check in with some of the comments from some of the audience members, because I'm sure they're really chomping at the bit to make their point known. If you guys are in the audience, put it down. Tell us who inspires you. Certainly like to hear from everybody in the audience on that one. Gonna welcome Tolga to the show. Good morning to you. At least where I'm at, it's morning. Where you guys are at, it's almost, the other end of the world. Lord knows what it is. Let me see. Biden wears diapers. He is in the house talking smack about running late. Yes, unfortunately, we have a lot of technical issues. So sometimes getting started on time doesn't work. Before I actually hit the go live button, I had the sun shining in my face. So I had to actually flip the truck around and get it so that you can actually see me rather than a blinding image of me. So that's why we're starting late. Let me see. Christian Jennings. Wife's boyfriend inspired me to be a better man. Good to know. Griff USMC in the house. Good morning. Driving mode on Interstate 35. There you go. That's a nice highway to be on. Let me see. Haas is with us. That'll do it every time. Let's see. Sassafras didn't join me backstage. Shame on you. But good morning. Welcome to the show. My father was my inspiration, Haas says. He passed, but ex-gunny, then busted his butt for USPS. Well, my salute to him. Thank him posthumously for his service. An excellent way to be inspired. In my eyes, the best way. So I'm going to move on to the first story. Having gone through comments, glad everybody's in and listening. All right, let me get to where I'm at. Okay, good show. All right, let's talk about responsibility. There we go. First shot. There we go. When everything goes wrong in trucking, rates drop, the economy tanks, we're quick to blame one specific segment of society: illegal drivers. Foreign workers and illegal drivers have gotten the rap more times negatively on social media and in the news, and it's all over the political airwaves. But if we ever stop to ask ourselves what we've done to get us here, what's actually taken us to the point where we get all of this negative stuff on social media and everybody hating on illegals, especially. So much so that we get commentary and stuff going on like this.
Talk about this issue right here that I've had a truck driver email me about. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because I've had more than one truck driver email this to me and wanted me to state my opinion on this. This truck driver basically said in the email that he is blaming B1 drivers, foreign illegal drivers from foreign countries coming into the States that are basically lowering the freight rates. And that's why we are in economy that we are now. You know, I could see how B1 drivers, and we've heard about this, right? Come in from different countries, coming in, getting loads. They're supposed to go back out, but they don't. They stay and they keep on running in America. Well, you know, the drivers is a part of the blame. I would say majority of the blame is the companies really allowing them to do this. If you're legally allowed to drive a truck in America, then you should be allowed to do that. If you're not, then that's the problem.
I'm going to give two things here. All right. Number one, I don't really follow religiously every single thing that he puts up on his channel, but this one caught my attention because I think it sets the tone for a lot of people and what a lot of people think is going on versus what is truly going on. Now, I've got a video I'm in the process of making, so I'm not going to give up too much on my opinion. I'm going to let the video I'm making speak for itself. But I felt it necessary to bring that clip up and engage in a conversation with you on the panel as well as those in the audience, because I do think there's more at play than what the person that wrote Mother Trucker is trying to portray in that email. I'll have the link to his video, and I'm sure he has all the information on his communications. So you're welcome to watch it yourself. But here's the thing. I'm looking at the bigger issue. That's what I do. I pull issues out of news stories to have a well-informed discussion here on the show. My thing is I don't think it's fully one segment of the population when you want to place blame on circumstances. I think it's a combination of factors: poor training standards, lack of unity among drivers, and a willingness to accept garbage working conditions. All of that's on us. We can sit here and blame these people, these B1s, these undocumented, these illegals, whatever you want to call them, all day long, all night long. Okay. But that's not the right way to go. And that's not going to solve our problem. I think there's a lot to do with the companies that hire them, yes, they have a lot of blame, but there's also a lot of it that we have to put on ourselves too. We'll sit here and gripe about mega carriers undercutting us with rates and with the high numbers. But how many of us have agreed to drive for those low rates and those low contracts that they themselves offer to us, expecting that we're just going to say yes just to keep the wheels rolling? We complain about respect on the road, but are we always respectful? All right. These are tough questions I think need to be answered and talked about. So it's easy to moan about rates and bad conditions, and it's easy to get up in everybody's grill when things don't go our way. But how many of us actually don't do that? How many of us actually accept that what you see is what you get? The problems in the industry aren't just the fault of outside forces. They are the result of choices we make. Put down in the comments in the chat if you agree with me or disagree with me. I'd like to know. Call our studio line, 860-785-3547, 860-785-3547. Time to stop pointing fingers. It's time to start taking accountability. Let's do our part and make trucking great again. Grumpy, what do you think? You agree with what I just said?
Well, I don't think the foreigners are all our problem, that's for sure. But they're not helping. That's where I look at it. Is they're making things worse. But they're not at all fault of the blame to take on it. So I mean, it's the way companies are running things. A lot of them are getting cheap, and a lot of them aren't going out there and taking care of their equipment. So that's causing rates to fall because they're able to give it to somebody else a lot easier because that company can't cut the mustard. So it's a little bit of everything going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, me myself, I mean, and I got this one of the other panelists, and I'm sure he's going to remind me when I bring him up. You got to take accountability for yourself. If you can't run a business and you can't make decisions, you've got no business owning a truck.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they have all the myriad of positions, and many companies out there. I mean, you always have options. You always have choices. So my thing by bringing this whole story together is why fault others and why make it someone else's problem because the choice you made didn't work out right for you?
Mm-hmm.
Why should you sit there and blame a segment of society that has absolutely no effect on you? Yeah, so what? Do you really know how many B1 visas are processed every year in this country? I actually looked it up. There's no set number, but they estimate between 300 and 400,000 per year are processed. B1 visas are basically the legal way to give outsiders access to work. There's a more specific definition. I know. Huh?
No, it's not.
That's the way it was explained to me.
No. A B1 visa, a B1 visa driver is not taking any jobs away from any Americans. A B1 visa is a driver who is from Canada or Mexico and picks up a load in Canada, drives to the United States, delivers that load, picks up another load, takes it back to Canada or Mexico to the United States, back to Mexico. That doesn't affect us in any way, shape, or form because we're not cross-border drivers. B1 visas are strictly in and out of the country. They do not haul from Houston to Dallas. They haul from Dallas to Guadalajara.
The original point that I was trying to make, the original point that I was trying to make is there is a large misunderstanding, and this conversation proves it. I assumed one thing about B1 visas that obviously you just cleared up for me. I thank you for that. But the point I was originally trying to make is there's so much misconception or misunderstanding, misinformation regarding illegals in this industry. I get there are people that do drive illegally. And I do get that there are companies out there willing to look the other way. But it's not the reason or the only reason the rates are the way they are. I know you can agree with that, Tom. And I know you can. You're going to survive, Poet? I got to wonder about you, buddy. I know you can agree with that. I mean, that's the whole point of me looking up the numbers. I mean, I don't accept the philosophy that the person the email Mother Trucker espouses, that he thinks it's because of illegals, the companies and the industry has gone to hell. And I don't agree with that. And that was the point of the entire conversation. I don't think any person making choices, choosing to do what we do, really has anybody to blame but yourself. The industry is what it is because we've sat here so long being silent and accepted it is what it is. Now, I don't mean it's bad. I don't mean it's good. It's just, it is what it is because we stay silent. So, Bo, what do you think? I mean, Thumper, Bo, you guys are.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. I just look at the screen and spout out. I mean,
Dear from dog.
you, right?
I don't know where he went.
Do you think like everybody else, or are you kind of in the camp like I'm thinking? Everybody I've talked to that I see, and I see it in comments all over the place, the illegals undercutting us, the rates are going low because of, all these people that don't speak English. Really? Has it gotten that bad?
It irritates me that somebody will come over here and not legally get citizenship and come take jobs from us. That pisses me off. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, but
Right.
I'm gonna back stuff up here a little bit. This country was founded on immigrants. We're all immigrants. We are all.
Yes, sir.
We are all immigrants. Simple as that.
Yes.
Now, as far as when an immigrant comes over to the United States, what do? They want to live the American dream. Back in the day, the American dream was farming. Nowadays, the way I see it, the American dream is trucking.
Yeah, exactly.
So we all have to go through a process. I mean, when you're born in the United States, you get a social security number, blah, 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 blah.
Right,
but there's other process to become a citizenship, and they just want to live the American dream. Well, look back at COVID. Look how many people got into the trucking industry because they didn't want to be locked down in their house. So what happened? The rates were high, more drivers were coming in, they weren't getting the proper insurance, and then when COVID kind of started fizzling out, the rates started dropping, the economy started crashing because there's so much abundance of something that it affects. It's a freight train. Like when a freight train takes off, it's that it is a domino effect, a freight train effect, whatever you want to call it. And then it goes that whole theory. To one positive, there's 10 negatives. It's always that way. I mean, it's the way of life now is such a roller coaster. It changes in the snap of a finger. You just don't know what's going to happen today. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen from a year from now. So I live day by day. I do what I need to do to survive.
This is true. And we do have somebody on the line, so I'm going to ask whoever's on the line, make sure your YouTube player's down. Welcome to the caller. You are live with Boss Man. How are you doing? Your first name? Where are you calling from, buddy?
Oh, this is Chris. I'm heading north on Interstate 35 for Oklahoma.
God bless you, my friend. Great.
In the chat.
Yep.
But the rate, it's a combination on the rates. A lot of it. When you got brokers going in and bidding on contracts now, they try to say they have an asset base and everything. They're trying to get it, but they can't cover it. But they bidded it for $1.50 a mile, and they're trying to get it covered, but nobody wants to run at that. That's a part of the factor. Then you got brokers going in, stuff that are. This is just my opinion on this part. trying to keep more of the rate up than not what is bidded for. So you got a load for $5,000. They're trying to keep 3, and they put it out on the low floor for 2. But and also then you have foreigners coming over here, as we discussed it in prior podcasts. They need to learn how to speak English, but when they have majority of seems like running on the road now that have the inability to speak English, it's a combination. It's made into a whirlwind part storm.
Yeah. I like Thumper and Bo just made the comment a minute ago. I have no problem with people coming over from a foreign country, going through the process in the right way, and chasing the American dream. If you are inspired the way I am to run this show, to get into an industry and make something of yourself, and you go through the process just like our forefathers did, our grandfathers, knock yourself out, man. But if your aim is to skirt the law, run it and be, a problem or be a drain, I have a problem with that, and, so to a small degree, I kind of take exception to this whole, let's get a translator. Yeah, I know people need help. We got the technology, all that kind of stuff. But you know what? Let's use our brain. Let's make the right choices here. I mean, at least make an effort to at least make it look good. I mean, that to me shows you have respect for the culture you're entering. I mean, because if I go to Spain on vacation, I'm going to go the extra mile to learn some Spanish so I can get around and at least make something of myself instead of being a nuisance. So I ask the same of the people coming here. I mean, I don't know. Am I crazy for expecting that? What do you say, caller?
Nope.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
If you go to another country, you at least know try to communicate somewhat with them, because you may not, just like you were going on about Spanish.
Yeah.
If you learn how to speak Spanish, you go down to Mexico and everything. But if you're basically a Spanish person from Mexico that goes to Spain, they'll look at you funny because the dialect is so different and everything. Just like American English.
Yeah, it's totally different. Yeah, and it can be right. But that comes with anything. Do the research. Make sure you know what you're talking about before you go into something. Don't go to one country thinking that you think you know it. Look it up. Make sure. It don't hurt. Same thing, getting in trucking. Make sure you know what you're doing before you buy a truck. If you don't, maybe you should be a driver. Maybe you should drive for a mega carrier until you get that experience. Griff, I appreciate the call. I'm glad you called in.
All right.
Your contribution,
gentlemen. You guys have a good one.
Yep, I'm glad you call again. And those in the audience, certainly take every opportunity, lead by example. If you want to call and become part of the show, the number's on the screen, 860-785-3547. 860-785-3547. Let me get to a couple comments real quick here. You didn't build that. Fair question. How many purple shirts does Tom own? There you go. You care to divulge that information, or is that super classified?
Lots.
There you go. The man's probably got a file cabinet for all the shirts that he's already washed, waiting to be worn.
No, there's a cabinet right here where you hang them up. Don't you have one in your truck?
No, actually, I've got a spreadsheet where I keep track of the ones I leave at home. Just saying. Anyway, Donna Dessler in the house. Hi, everyone. I'm glad you could make it with us. It's simple. Facts don't care about feelings. It's simple. If you come to the U.S., respect our laws, assimilate our culture, and everything will be peachy. Well, assimilation only goes so far as your ability to do the research. As I said a minute ago, at least do your part. At least make the right choices. Because as I opened the entire story up with, I think a lot of it has to do with choices. Really does. Because you know what? I think a large part of what's drawn down, part of what's drawn down in the industry is the fact that everybody's trying they're trying too hard. They get into it, they drive for a year or two, they do what everybody recommends, and all of a sudden they get this brainiac idea. I'll admit, I'm guilty of this. And I'll talk about this on a future show. I'm guilty of this very concept I'm talking about, in that I rushed into a decision when I should have thought it out and probably prepared for a little bit of time, a little bit longer. And I think there's a lot of people in this industry today that fall right there. They think that just because they've had 3, maybe 4 years in the industry, I'm ready to own a truck. I'm ready to start my own business. I'm ready to make it, with the big boys. Truth is, you haven't got a clue. You have no freaking clue what you're doing.
That's right.
I'm one of them.
It
I'm
took
one
me
of
3
them.
times.
Exactly. I mean, I'm still learning. Larry, have you ever owned a truck in a day in your life, other than what you're doing
Nope.
today?
I'm trying.
No? Well, how long have you been in the industry before you actually decided to take that leap? How many years did you drive for somebody else before you started what you're doing now?
19 years.
See? And I thought I was doing something at waiting 4 years. The 2 years one company, 2 years another. I waited 4 years. So I can tell you right now, looking back, I made some pretty immature decisions and I made some mistakes. I feel better for it, but we all have to go that road. We all have to go that measure. Hey, we live and learn.
I just
That's why I
wanted
like
to.
doing this.
Oh.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Larry. Go ahead. I'll say it after you're done.
That's why I like doing this lease purchase, because I learn my mistakes, and then when I actually buy my own truck, then you learn from what you did as a lease on your own truck.
Right, exactly. Want to recognize Driving with John in the audience. He said, make today. Can't tell you where I'm headed or where I'm going, but I'm pretty sure there'll be a video about it soon. Hey, we're looking forward to that. John, you do it. You do it right. You do it safe, my friend. Everybody in the audience, if you'd be so kind as take a moment, go to his channel. There is a link down below in my description. Go to his channel, check him out, love him, like him, subscribe to him. He's good people. I just wish he could be here today, but he has got more important fish to fry, I think is the way I wanted to word that.
He's got bigger fish to fry.
There you go. Yeah. I haven't got the whole rust thing down yet.
I just
What were you
wanted
gonna
to.
say?
I just
Yeah.
wanted to add one more thing to my previous comments here.
Mhm.
It's the thing I wanted to add was it is, and I'm guilty for this. I really am. It is easier for us nowadays to put the blame on somebody else than to actually take responsibility.
It is.
And I think that's why the rates are the way they are. I mean, for some people it works out great. For some other people it really doesn't. And yeah, I just wanted to add that. I forgot I was going to say that too.
Hey, wise words never spoken. I'll tell you what. I like the fact that you felt that way, because I'll tell you what. I said it all comes down to choices. When I started that story out, that's what it is. I think it's more choices, but it's everybody as a conglomerate. I mean, I'm not going to blame any segment, and I think Mother Trucker opined on that very eloquently in his response. So I want to move on to another story, which just as more importantly affects us behind the wheel. And you guys need to know about it. A lot of people really have to wonder about the future of trucking, because there's a lot of people that are trying to influence it in their own image, in their own way. All right. There's been this fight brewing for years. It's called AB5. Now, lately here, the federal government has put in their 2 cents. They've made their decisions. You heard Biden's push not long ago about, nationalizing the whole concept of independent contractors and all that. Well, this so-called independent contractor argument hasn't ended yet. Recently, in a story that was featured in, I want to say, either Overdrive or, Overdrive. It's talking about the OOIDA's push to resurrect the whole appeal over the AB5 situation. Todd Spencer with the OIDA actually wrote in, I'm thinking Overdrive. I'm not sure if he's quoted by them or from them, but here's the thing. AB5 uses a test which he feels is plainly unfair, and he feels like it could be the death knell to trucking. There are so many of us out here who want to be independent contractors, but because of this ABC test that AB5 utilizes, he feels like it needs to be looked at and overturned. So he's taking us to the Ninth Circuit Court, arguing the law isn't just bad for just California truckers, but it hurts every leased owner operator out there who wants to work in not only California, but in the entire nation. They're saying this law violates the Constitution by unfairly targeting interstate truckers and making it impossible for them to do business. Here's where it gets interesting. The CTA is already thrown in the towel. They've said, no, we're not fighting this anymore. But no, Todd's pushing it through. They're going all the way because they believe that the AB5 law is unconstitutional and an attack on the working class trucker. Put in the comments what you think. What do you think about this entire argument? I've spoke with a lot of people, and different truckers out there have all different opinions. There are a great number of them who know about this and just assume that everybody's just following the federal government. This actually is now federal standard, and a lot of states are adopting it. But does it need to stay that way? Will we benefit one way or the other? Put that in the comments as well. I want to know what you think. Let's get the obvious out of the way. You and I had a discussion the other day, Tom, about this whole thing, and where you were talking in tax consequences, it almost makes sense to leave it alone.
They
and
need
not
to
even
push
pay.
AB5 through in all 50 states. And I know that'll break a bunch of independent contractors' hearts for 1099 because they want to hide their income from tax reasons. If you want your people, if you're a carrier and you want people to be 1099, then you need to let them be an independent contractor. They need to make the decisions. They need to have the control. If they don't have the decisions and they don't have the control, you got to pay your 7.5% Medicaid and Social Security, and you got to give them the unemployment benefits, and you got to treat them as employees. Either they're employees or they're independent businesses. Unfortunately, people in this industry, drivers, will fall for this bullshit and will go and sign on to be a 1099 lease operator, don't control anything. They don't control the equipment. They don't control where they go, when they go. They don't control anything. But they think they do. They don't control anything. If you were an independent business and you actually controlled your equipment, you could pull a load for Smith Brothers tomorrow and Boyd Brothers the next day if you were truly an independent. Try and do that with a Prime truck. Try and do that with a Stevens truck. Wilson, whatever. You make up the company. Not picking on them. I'm just saying.
Well, and no, it's easy to pick on. It's easy to pick on the larger companies because they're the most widely seen, known, and heard. But are there truly independents out there that can do just that? I mean, ask yourself: is that really the crux of the issue? Because as much as you make the issue about taxes and about money and whether you're saving. I mean, me right now, I work for someone else. So I'm kind of out of this argument, but I'm playing devil's advocate here. And really, is it always about the money?
It's about control. Who has control? And that's what it says in the law. It's already been federal law for many, many years. You can look it up on IRS. You can look up the Department of Labor. It's about control. Do you control? Do you bring your own equipment to the job? Do you bring your own skill set to the job? Do you control your financial, whether you can lose or make money? These are all things that determine whether you should be an independent contractor or a W-2. And if you ever have a question about it, there's a simple form you fill out called an SS Form 8 on the IRS website, and they'll make the determination.
Here's
you
a
might
laugh
not like
for
it,
you.
though.
Yeah, right. Here's a good laugh for you. You didn't build that. It says, fun fact, Gavin Newsom's hair gel is a derivative of fossil fuel. But anyway, what do you think about this whole argument, Grumpy? Does it really matter to you? I mean, you kind of are in that employee-employer thing. I mean, but we've been hearing this argument back and forth about AB5 nonstop for the last 2 years or more. You got to have an opinion one way or the other.
Well, my opinion might stink a little bit, but I ran across something very similar to that whenever I was driving the chicken truck, hauling fresh and frozen chicken. And basically, if we borrowed money from the till, instead of them actually reporting it to our employer and having them take it out and take taxes and all that out, no, they sent us a 1099 at the end of the year, and we had nothing to write off. So that really made a big headache for us. Yeah. And I don't think it was right. My tax man didn't think it was right the way he was doing it, because we had absolutely nothing to write off. We couldn't write fuel off. We couldn't write tires off, nothing. So, it was wrong. They should have sent it over to our actual employer and had them deduct it out of there and then show it to where we paid taxes on that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that really pertains to what we're talking about, but that's just what I feel.
Well, I mean, in a case like that, you wound up suffering the worst out of that. What's your thoughts on this story there, Poet? You got you in all the years you've been in trucking, you had to have owned trucks. In fact, I know you had, one you showed me when we first started talking in your backyard. What difference would it make whether it was something everybody worried about or not?
Back in the day when I owned my truck, for as little time as what I did, I had some backup. The guy that taught me how to drive, taught me how to do books, everything else. Yes, we have the same thing as a 1099 or a W-2 up here. It's just the whole tax system is structured differently.
Yeah.
When it comes to AB5, it's not really a big deal up here. It's not being talked about. We hear about it from California and the rest of the states, but up here, it makes no never mind.
Yeah. I mean, in a large part, yeah. I mean, in a large part, until I talked to a buddy of mine the other day, I mean, I was of the mindset, Todd could put through an argument and he could get something done. There's no telling what will happen in the Ninth Circuit, or even what the merits behind his argument is. I mean, other than what was written in that overdrive story. But I mean, honestly, the only concern I have is that if laws are passed and controls are put in place that limits a person's ability to reproduce the results others before me have done, I take exception to that. Now let me clear the air on exactly what I mean by this, okay? People like C.L. Warner. I pick on him because I worked for his company for 2 years. C.L. Warner started out with one truck, and he worked his ass off, and over time gained a couple more trucks and became the company that Warner is today. He started with one. He learned, he prospered, and excelled at the job he did, enough so that he could create the company that you see running all over the place. Now, with the current set of laws today, I have to ask myself, could C.L. Warner reproduce that result? I doubt it. Because there's so many more things you have to consider, do, and reach as far as goals and expectations. And today's a totally different industry. I get that. But the idea that someone can sit down at a table somewhere, come up with a dream, and make that dream a reality, if a law prevents a person from doing that, is that law really worth having? I mean, if it saves lives, one thing. Don't misunderstand me. But if it diminishes a dream or kills someone's ability to innovate, I don't know. Thumper, do you think it's really worth it?
I don't know.
What do you think about
never.
it?
Well, what do I think about it?
You yourself own trucks. You
Yo.
run your own business. If the
I do.
government suddenly passed a law and you found out that by that law you couldn't buy more trucks or make a necessary change in your business model in order for you to survive, that would be kind of a dream killer, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, it would definitely. I mean, it would really suck.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really like people telling me what I can and cannot do with my business. I mean, for me personally, I feel like I need to learn from my mistakes, so let me screw up. And if I got the government coming in telling me I have to telling me like say, oh, you have too many trucks, you got to get rid of 3 or 4 of them. I'll literally tell them to, yeah,
Pound salt, right? Say it the
yeah,
nice way. Pound salt.
exactly.
Honestly, that's purely where I'm coming from. I mean, in this day and age, all the government wants to do is they Rush died on the mountain, okay? And I bring this up lightly. He died on the mountain. And one of his famous expressions is that the left wants you to be controlled so much that you're dependent on them. That was one of his things. I remember he used to talk about that. But I'm not going to repeat that mantra because you know what? There's some on the left that actually don't feel that way. So I'm not going to put everybody up in the same ball. But what I do know is this: and at any time, I have the Reagan mindset. Anytime the government says, "I'm here to help," run. I don't trust the government as far as I can throw them next door in the neighbor's trash bin. I couldn't do it. I mean, yeah, they do serve a purpose. They do keep civil law and order, and they do help you when it comes to making laws and keeping society running. But as far as an AFDC check, a welfare check, no. I am of the mindset I'm going to do it myself. And God forbid I have to rely on something. That's what insurance is for. Plan. That's the best thing you can do. And if plan falls through, plan again. I've said that repeatedly. I don't trust the government. I don't want them controlling me. I want to be able to control it myself. If I come up with a dream, if I come up with an image in my mind of what I think my future should be, I don't want some big brother telling me, no, you can't. Then I ask why. They say, well, because I said so. That ain't an answer, So I think really when it comes down to it, I think this whole AB5 nonsense really does need to be revisited. And I really think, if nothing else, I'll give you credit for it. I think we need to put it in perspective where if somebody decides they want to run a business and they want to control their own business, they need to be given the tools and the way to do it. It ain't up to the government to say you can or can't. I think people just need to make better decisions and they need to do it right. If anybody disagrees with me, put it in the comments. I want to hear. We'll take more calls if you're feeling so froggy. 860-785-3547, 860-785-3547. I mean, when it comes down to what Todd is doing, if he loses in the Ninth Circuit, I mean, it basically will change trucking forever. I mean, because, if he loses, who else is going to take up the mantle? Who else is going to make the change? AB5 will then, by default, just become, something accepted in all 50 states. So think about how life will change if you then no longer can be an independent contractor, if you no longer can work your own business, as it were. And in order to be in trucking, you have to work as an employee. Does that really change the game for you guys? Would that actually make you reconsider being in trucking? What do you think, Larry? If you're forced to do a W-2, pay taxes.
No, there's nothing that'll change that.
Mhm. If somebody else has to control your load schedule
There's not,
and you don't, yeah. I mean, to Tom's point earlier, it is about control, but depending on the arrangement you have or what lease agreement you sign with a company, you really don't have control. It's a falsehood. I got, somebody in the comments said a minute ago that they were going to Swift. Whether it's a joke or not, I don't know, but you know what? Something like that. Not sure that's an actual, you're in control independent contractor. No, you've got a dispatcher, somebody up there, even though they call you an independent contractor, you're not. You're not. Just like I do, just like Larry
I'm
does.
a lease purchase here at my company, and they give me freedom to do what I want, but it affects my paycheck if I don't listen.
Well, so in a sense, what you're saying, Larry, is you don't have control.
No.
You only have control in title only. Because they could decide tomorrow, you know what, I'm not giving you a load, and you've got no recourse.
Yep.
That's not control. That's not control.
So
That's a carrot.
so if I'm
Go ahead,
hearing
Paul.
this right, unless you run strictly off of load boards with your own tractor, own trailer, then you're considered part of AB5 because you're leased to a company. Whereas if you're truly independent, then you're running off of load boards. Am I right?
No. Here's the difference. Because let me delineate. What you just described, Poet, is the classic definition of independent business owner. A business owner is not an independent contractor. They can be commingled because as an independent business owner, if you have your own authority, your own insurance, everything you do on your own, you can choose to haul loads under contract with somebody, and you could do that. But now AB5 is stepping in to say no, because they don't want somebody running under another's authority and all the tax implications that Tom mentioned a minute ago.
Yeah,
That's what they're trying to clear up. Now, more to the question you asked. If I go out, get my own authority, have my own insurance, then discussion's over. But if I do something like go to Prime, go to Swift, go to Schneider, go to even the business model that Landstar currently has, is under threat with this rule being placed the way it is. Because you may own the equipment, but you're running under someone else's authority, and they're taking money from you as a result, and you by de facto are giving up control because of how the money's changing. That's where the problem is, and that's where they're actually having the argument over, okay, it's a money thing. Because truth be known, I think it's all about taxation. I think it's all about taxation, really, because honestly, at the end of the day, that's what it has to be. It has to be about taxes. And the reason I say this is because there was another article up not long ago, and I saw it. And the article was talking about, in fact, I have it right here. Trucking industry reveals tax commission rejects shift in state taxation. And what this article was talking about is a proposed move from the mileage rule to a pickup and deliver system that more and more states are trying to adopt and talk about. So now, as this applies to the whole AB5 argument, it's clear to see why they're doing all the stuff they're doing. They are missing out on tax revenue if you're an independent contractor and pay your taxes at the end of the year, because you can write off so much, you can do so much, and you can, quote, game the system. That's what they don't want. They don't want you to game the system. They don't want you to not pay your taxes. If you're on a standard W-2 model, you can't avoid it because your taxes are taken first. And that article where you're talking about taxation, that is a perfect explanation. And it's funny, the two articles basically come out side by side. They're not overdrive. They're not, and I'll have to link it in a separate section of the video, but
So
it just
I
demonstrates what they're doing. What's that?
no, I got a question here. Okay, so I pull hopper bottom here, and we're leased on to my trucks. We're our own authority. We're on our own insurance and all that stuff, but we are leased to another company that owns the trailers, and they do the dispatching. Well, I also have cattle pots where I have an owner operator that has his own authority, has his own insurance, but he's leased on to me, but I have a contract with American Food Groups. So does that B5 affect that too then?
How you pay your employee? It doesn't affect you, but how it affects how you pay your employee.
Oh, well, almost all my employees
that's
are W-2s except for one. He's got his own enterprise or whatever he calls it. He
Right.
does his own taxes and everything.
all right.
But I mean, I
Well,
totally
that one person would be the one affected. I mean, if you've got a system whereby you pay, using that W-2 model, you got nothing to worry about. I mean, because you're already doing what Newsom is threatened by, and if you got that one employee who wants to do his own thing, okay, that's the one that Newsom is worried about, or any other government agency that watches over the taxes. That's what they're worried about. They're worried about the missing money. So if you do W-2, you got nothing to worry about. They're not going after that. They want everybody in trucking to be a W-2 employee. But if you have your own MC and you do like you do, you got your own contract. How can you? In some cases you almost can't. Because then you've got to set that corporation up and you've got to pay yourself as a W-2. Sometimes that costs you more in the long run, I would think. I mean, I haven't gone that
As you
way.
said earlier, one great big fat word: control.
Exactly.
it's
And I
exactly
think
what it is.
I think that's 90% of it right there. Wow, folks, we've been going a while. This conversation's gotten lively. So, get to pick my own freight and choose when to go home. So that means I must be a true business owner because the carrier refers to me as self-employed.
It doesn't matter. They still find your rates, or they still find your loads. They try to coax you into going to go do something else. Yeah, you get to pick your own home time and stuff, but it's the same situation that Larry's in.
Right. Well, remember, Christian Jennings is the one that said they were on Swift.
Yeah.
Remember what I said a minute ago, Christian. And here's the thing. Okay. I ran under Landstar for almost 8 years, and I own my own truck. And the one thing I learned a lot running under Landstar. Okay. I was 1099. I was a contractor. Technically, yeah, in every sense of the word, I was an independent contractor because I ran under their authority. I had my own load board. I had my own schedule, my own control. But here's one thing I learned. The one most important thing I learned is that I need to learn a lot more before I own a truck. What I learned is I don't know it all. What I learned is every and any company will tell you what they want you to hear. If it gets you to make a decision that benefits them, they'll tell you what you want to hear. Now, you're gullible enough to believe it. Well, that's on you. But see, I was gullible in that I thought I was ready and didn't know enough. I learned valuable lessons. I don't resent nobody. I don't call anybody out. I'm not a fascist like that. But I will say this. To your comment, to your point, Swift will make you think you are a business owner. They will make you think you're in control. They will make you think that you are the most upstanding driver in their company. But the truth is, you work for Swift. Truth is, they could fold tomorrow, and where are you? If they fold tomorrow, it'll never happen. But think about it this way. If they fold tomorrow, where are you? You're in a truck with a contract that can't be filled and no revenue. Now what?
Bankrupt.
And it's happening all over the place. 480 drivers just found out yesterday that they no longer have a job. When 2 days prior to that closing of the company, I wish I could remember the name of that company. Put it in the comments if you know. In one fell swoop, the USPS contract was canceled with their company. Monday they had a job. Tuesday they had a pink slip. It could happen tomorrow. Swift wants you to think you're in control. You're not. You're an employee of Swift. You just don't know it.
Yep. I know there's one company out there. I was talking to my buddy, and I'm not gonna say what company it is, but he did a lease to purchase, and he's been with that company for 10 years now. And every time his truck comes up to close to the last payment, they throw him in a new truck where his payments got to start all over again. It's just a revolving door. I mean, I don't know if that's how it is with other companies or not, but he's actually about ready to throw in the towel and go work for somebody else.
Larry, does that sound familiar?
That's mostly purchased now.
Well, it's kind of what you're dealing with, in a sense.
About 2 or 3 years, and then once you get another truck.
Yep, and that contract starts all over again.
Nothing.
Yeah, never know. Exactly. And that's basically, believe it or not, Poet, I'm glad you brought that up. That's what started this whole AB5 debate. The whole never, never. You pay on a thing, and the company, to the point Tom made earlier, the company having such deeply rooted control over you can make or break you. And they can yank that truck right out from under you and make it look legal. That's the problem.
Well, the thing of it is,
welcoming Fate into the audience. If he feels like talking, you're welcome to the show, my friend.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Go ahead, Grumpy.
Where?
Go ahead, Grumpy. Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't mean to cut you off, Grumpy. I just wanted to be nice to him.
well, basically the way I'm looking at it is back in the day, like when Poet started, you know, being an independent contractor, owner, operator back then was a lot easier than it is today. And that's why a lot of people still look at it. They're like, oh, well, they did it back then. I can do it now. No, it's not that easy now. It's making it more difficult. There's too many rules, too many regulations compared to back then. Taxes are different. You know, they want to know when you farted last. I mean, and what it smelled like. That's exactly how they are anymore. So it's hard.
Yeah. Listen, I wanted to recognize a new face in town. What's going on, guys? Ricky Manor, welcome to the show. Glad you can make it. Drop your comments. We're talking about AB5, its effect, and what is really going on. Because Todd Spencer's trying to go to the Ninth Circuit, trying to get it overturned. So, I mean, if you're feeling froggy, a few minutes we got left, give me a shout out either on the phone, in the comments. Let us know what your thoughts are. Me personally, I don't like the idea that the American dream, as far as I'm concerned, is seriously being put to question by just the government itself putting more control over a situation than the would-be person that would want to start their own business. They're just putting an extra cog in the wheel, an extra step in the process. And I feel that everybody in trucking should have the ability and same ability to do what it is I currently do, which is enough research, learn lessons, become better because of mistakes, albeit it shouldn't cost you your livelihood. It shouldn't be extremely damaging. But you know what? If someone wants to establish a business model that allows them to be called an independent contractor, what on earth is wrong with it? Fate, what do you think?
Man, you're touching a hot topic, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, we're running over. That's why I'm still talking about it. I mean, what do you think?
Okay, and I know I'm going to get beat up in the comments here, and that's fine. I find it difficult to be called an independent contractor when you are being given your loads, you are told where to fuel up, you are directed on how to operate your truck
Right.
by somebody other than yourself. Now, do I think people could set a business plan up and operate that way? Yeah, I do. And I think it's weird that the government wants to get involved. I kind of understand why the government wants to get involved, because there have been a lot of people, some that have been successful, but the majority of people that kind of do
not to cut off you mid thought, but I want to introduce on the StreamYard link. We've had one guest in the audience take advantage of the StreamYard link, and he has clicked. He's in incognito right now. Say hello to Ricky Manor, who was just leaving comments a moment ago. Welcome to the show.
What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing today?
Yes, sir. I'm glad you could join us. If you'll hang tight just a minute. Fake, go ahead and finish your thought.
Well, I was just saying there's been people that have invested a lot into whether it's a lease purchase deal or whatever, and been handcuffed by a company to generate revenue. In my mind, that's wrong. That's why the government got involved. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying anytime somebody is in control of your business, in my mind, you're not an independent contractor.
Exactly. Now, to the extent that Larry describes what's going on with him, and to the extent that Poet earlier made the comment or reference to the never plan, I fully agree with everything you just said, Fake. Because if somebody like myself were to call himself an independent contractor and want the control, where the government sees a problem with money, all I look at is how can I best set myself up in a situation that allows me maximum potential for growth. If I'm going to start my own trucking company, I want to grow and I want to do it organically because I'm the best at what I do. And if you as a government tell me that I can't pursue any path but one, what's in it for me will be zero. Ricky, what do you think? I'm glad you could join the show with us. What do you think on this whole argument?
Are you talking about like owner operators having to get their loads from their companies?
If they rely with the company, I don't think that, like, for example, Christian Jennings mentioned the whole thing with Swift. Swift has a load board, but it ain't nothing. It's there by attraction purposes. If you run under Swift, you've got a dispatcher, so they quite frankly control you.
Exactly.
That's not an independent contractor. That's an actual employee.
That's okay. When I graduated truck driver school back in June, and Prime was one of the people that came by the school.
Right.
This is a conversation that I had with Tom Bell when I met him up in Ohio. I was working for Cheeseman at the time. I got a chance to meet him face to face. We were staying in the same hotel. And the way Tom said it,
I haven't met Tom face to face yet. I just see him on camera. That's all.
Okay. Tom, my impression of Tom, I didn't think of him as a truck driver. He looks very corporate America.
He does. He does. He's a very smart guy. Very smart guy. I respect him.
But I mean, the thing is, if basically what he told me, and the same thing I told the Prime person, if I'm moving your freight and I'm buying your fleet, then the only person who's winning out of this deal is you.
Yep. I will admit, even the situation I described that I had with Landstar, I had a contract. I did have the control, but I had to pay 35% of the revenue just to have that control. That was a large margin, but they paid for tags, they paid for permits, they paid for the IFTA, they handled a lot. Okay, they supplied the fuel cards. So now, does that make me an independent contractor? No.
That makes you an employee.
Yeah, theoretically you are, but if their load board dried up tomorrow, I'm on the hook for a truck I can't pay for.
Exactly.
That goes back to what I was describing earlier. I mean, if I went out and got my own authority and then signed up under them and didn't have to pay 35%, there'd have to be some changes, but it could
wait a minute.
work in my favor, but you can't do that. They don't have a setup. I think they have they have a carrier side where you can actually do something like that, but I don't know enough about it to really opine with any certainty.
Why not just lease your truck or buy your truck from a bank, right? And be a true owner operator, because think about it, you don't have to just pull for Swift or Prime or whoever these other companies are. You can pull your own freight and still make your money, and people will compete for you. You don't have to compete for them.
Here's the thing I concern myself with, okay? Thumper, you talked about your business. Your business model, the way you talked about it, you're okay.
Yep.
The business model I currently sit in this truck working, I have to wonder about. I'm not going to get into specifics, but it ain't like Thumper's. If the government actually were to come around and put hands down on you have to do A, B, and C, there'd be a lot of changes needed to be made with the company I work for. Okay? Because the man that owns this truck did exactly what you said, Ricky. He leases it from the source, and he pays heftily, mightily. It's not cheap. Because I was given a choice as to whether or not, if I wanted to take over payments on this truck, I decided against it. I said, no, I can't handle it.
Okay.
So that's how expensive it is. But more to the point I was originally going at, I mean, think about how many businesses would suddenly have to either change or cease if this becomes enforced. If the Ninth Circuit argument loses and there's no hope of return,
Wow.
it's going to change everything.
I'm going to make this comment, and I'm probably going to get hated on this, but I don't care. It's turning into communist. We are not free anymore. They want to tell us what to do. They want to tell us when to eat. They want to tell us they just want to tell us to do everything. We are not free anymore.
I would reserve that opinion for one simple fact, and that is, you know what? Every 4 years there's an election. Every 4 years there's consequences. If you think we're communist now, well, let's see what happens in January. See who's in that inaugural ball, as it were.
Well,
let's
can I step in here real quick?
Go ahead, Fate. Go ahead.
Can I step in here real quick?
Go ahead, Fate. Fate, go ahead if you can hear us.
You choose every morning to get up and drive that truck. Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, you're very well.
Can
go
you
ahead.
hear me?
Yeah. Yes, I can. I choose to drive the truck. Go ahead. You can.
Okay.
You go ahead. I can hear you.
No, we wake up every morning and choose to drive the truck. We're not told. When it comes to business, I'm sorry, there are rules and regulations we have to follow as businesses that dictate what we're able to do and what we're not able to do. That's not just trucking. That's every entity. It is a little harder nowadays than it was in years past. But Ricky brought up a point. Why don't you just finance all your equipment through the banks? A lot of us do that. Like, that's what I did. The thing is with trucking is a lot of people get into it because they don't have anything. And I'm not saying that meanly. There's people that like trucking is an easy way to provide for a family, right? Then you have companies that take advantage of a dream that somebody might have. And there's no short list of people on YouTube that have sold their truck for a $5,000 payment on a truck only to get that truck repossessed. You know what I mean? Like, in my mind, that's not the way to go about it. Like, a business should be like, you should be a disciplined human being if you want to operate a business.
Fully agree. I feel like I was blessed in that when I bought my truck, I set myself up basically because I happen to be good at budgeting money. So I set myself up on a program I could manage and afford. And I was fortunate enough to be able to work that long enough to pay it off. So I didn't get stiff with any payments, any negative lease, any problems. I worked out the situation in a very fortunate and lucky way. So I owned the truck outright for 2.5 years before I sold it. But in that, I also learned a lot. And much to your point, Faye, you know, every one of us out here has a choice every day. We can choose to be ignorant and live life under the thumb of, oh, it's just another day. Or we can choose to do the right research, look at the right facts, look at the right information, and make the decisions because we have learned from those people that whom before us have made mistakes. We might not like the laws the way they are. We might not like what they represent, but to your point, Faith, they are there and we do have to follow. The idea of whether or not we can chase the American dream, I don't think it's dead. I do think it needs help.
So,
and
I got a question for you truckers.
Go ahead, Ricky.
Does anybody here do flatbed?
I did for 13 years.
Used to.
I've done it most of my career.
Okay, because I just started in flatbed and I'm hating it.
Oh, wow. There's only certain areas of the country. Well, there's only certain areas of the country where there's enough load to truck demand where it's really working. And it's probably the worst time of the year, too. So you got two things going against you right now.
Well, the thing.
Why do you hate it, Ricky?
Yeah,
well, the load securement, right? Picking up the loads. Basically, I run out a whole 14-hour clock. Like when I do my trip planning, I have about an hour and a half left on my clock to find a place to sleep for the night. That's one of the reasons. Okay. What's that?
Welcome to flatbed.
Load securement. Yeah, load securement. It's a lesson that you'll never forget because if you do screw up, you're going to get hurt. Okay.
Right. Exactly.
Trip planning.
Imagine if you were flatbed. Just imagine if you were hauling a flatbed load and somebody else already loaded the forklifts on there, already secured them, and your Conestoga rig was already closed, and all you had to do was check going down the road and making sure that everything still was good. Just imagine that. And then you went to the other end and you dropped it. And man, I'm telling you, I don't know what the problem with flatbed is. I love flatbed.
Yeah.
Well, flatbed's a niche. The reality is
there's a difference between actual flatbed and what you do, Dom. All you do is close the curtain.
Close the curtain.
See, and I always open them up again just to check.
Conestoga is
I got a door in the front. I got a door in the front of the truck and trailer. I just open the door, walk in, be sure it's all nice and tight. Somebody else did all the work.
Hey, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Ricky, what Tom just explained is somebody that found a very good company to work for. That, like, you will find no matter what you do in trucking, no matter what it is you haul, you'll find things you don't like about it. The point is to find a company that you enjoy working for. And everything Tom just said, like that should be your goal. You know what I mean? To find something that works for you. You know what I mean? Because I haul reefer freight. I could give you a list of 1,000 reasons why I hate hauling reefer freight.
Well, the thing is, Tom used to work for the same company. I had a falling out with the bosses there, so I'm no longer there anymore. But
Ricky,
guys,
think about this.
Guys, okay? I'm gonna hang tight.
Right,
we seem to be.
Right now, Ricky, you're in an apprenticeship. Okay.
Yeah.
Good things will come your way, but you gotta stick with it.
Okay. Guys on the panel, hang tight. Don't go anywhere. Don't want to lose you. I want to have an after-show discussion. Well, let me tell you something, folks. When it comes to making decisions, you have before you right now a panel of people that obviously you can see are very, very experienced, very knowledgeable. Whether you're an independent contractor, make the right call, the wrong call, or just calls every day to people to piss you off, you're going to find it here when it comes to opinion that counts. If you want news and opinion to help make your day, make your next decision, and actually follow trends, look here, make the choice, do the research, but make it the right one. Continue learning, keep thriving, keep driving, because it's the trucks that make the delivery. You are the one that makes the difference. Till next time, my friend, keep it real, and by all means, keep it rolling.